G'day everyone, this is Electronics, and today I thought I'd do a bit of a recap on the journey so far with my Ocean Friends single release, which is the first single off my upcoming album, which will be out in November of 2023. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything goes well and we are on track with all of the single releases throughout the year. So for those of you who aren't aware, Ocean Friends was released on the 24th of February. And I created a 6-week release campaign for that, where 2 weeks in the lead up to the single coming out, we did a countdown, so a 14-day countdown. And then we also did a 2-week post-promotion campaign as well. So first up, I want to thank everyone who supported this release. Those who listened to the track, who watched the music video, who commented and sent me personal messages, those who shared the song on their profiles and on their socials. Thank you so much for your support. It doesn't go unnoticed for a small artist like myself. I also want to thank those who actually donated to me personally as a thank you and appreciation for sharing the art. I really appreciate your support and your donations. I was so shocked and surprised that I had a couple of people donate to me. And yeah, I'm just honestly so thankful for that. What I'm going to do is share some of the positive outcomes so far of the release and also some of the things that didn't work, so that if you're thinking of releasing your own single or an album, this might give you some guidance and assistance with that. All right, so one of the successes of this release was that it was reviewed by Triple J and some of the radio presenters at Triple J, and it was also played on one of their shows as well. So that was pretty cool to have the song reviewed and played by Triple J Unearth. This is an extremely positive thing, especially if you're an independent artist in Australia and you have the team at Triple J review your track and play it on one of their programs. It's a pretty massive achievement because not everyone gets their song reviewed and played on Triple J, and it's a very hard thing to achieve. So that was definitely a very positive outcome for this single release that hopefully we can build on throughout the year. Another positive outcome of this release was the collaboration with PETA Australia. For those of you who don't know, PETA Australia is an organisation that advocates for animals and animal rights. And they collaborated with me on the release of the music video and shared it on their socials, which was really cool. And that kind of helped to get the message out to a wider audience, because obviously the message is and has a strong animal rights focus. So that was a really cool positive outcome. Another positive outcome of the release was that it was playlisted on 3 Spotify editorial playlists, which was really cool. So we made it onto the Deadly Beats Spotify playlist and on the cover as well, which was like completely surprising. And we also made it onto the Fresh Finds AU and NZ playlist, along with the Sunday Sessions playlist as well. So 3 pretty cool playlists to make it onto. And again, hopefully it's something that we can build on throughout the year with the rest of the releases. So another positive outcome was the additional new followers on Spotify as well. So yeah, I've seen some growth on my social platforms, from new followers on Spotify to new subscribers on YouTube, new followers on Instagram as well. But for me, the best positive outcome for this was the way that the story reached people's hearts and impacted those who did actually listen to the song and watch the video. Really grateful for those who supported the release and who appreciated the story and the message of it. Yeah, I'm just so glad to share a story that had a purpose and a meaning to it that would perhaps inspire, the world to consider their choices when it comes to how their food gets to their plate. All right, so now I'm going to share a bit about what didn't work. So just to give you a bit of a background and context, in this release campaign, we did email quite a few music blogs, quite a few independent radio stations, and also quite a few different labels. And there was really no response with those emails. So in evaluating this release, I probably won't do that next time. Well, I definitely won't do that next time because it's actually a lot of work, and because there was no real result from it, I don't feel that it would be, any point to doing it again next time. So what I'm going to focus on mostly is Spotify and Triple J because they're the ones that have responded the most with this release. So they're the ones that I'm going to focus on with all the single releases, and I'm going to cut out all of the little independent radio stations and blogs and labels and things like that. So yeah, I think for a small artist like me, emailing community radio stations and blogs and labels who don't really know me, there's no point to it. So I guess this is more of a observation rather than what didn't work, but I'm still noticing that while I was reviewed on Triple J and played on Triple J Unearthed, I'm still not yet breaking out of being just placed in the Indigenous category. So yeah, it's something that I'm just noticing, and hopefully, as I work on more emotions, which I'll talk about my emotions in another video, but hopefully as I work through some more emotions to do with this feeling of just being put in a box, yeah, I'd like to see some progress with that in the future, hopefully if I work on some emotions. But yeah, I'm still noticing that I'm still being limited to only the Indigenous categories. So yeah, it's just my observation and something that definitely triggers me emotionally, and so I know I still have some more emotions to work on that. Yeah, so in terms of the content that I shared around this release, I was posting daily for about a month on the release, sharing behind the scenes content, interviews with animators, interviews with the directors. And while I didn't have a lot of interaction with those videos, I noticed I did have some growth with my Electronics Instagram page and also my YouTube channel. So while I didn't have much personal interaction with the posts, which is totally fine, it definitely did help my platforms to grow a little bit. So it's something that I'll definitely continue to do around single releases, is that daily posting, because I think there's such a benefit in helping your platforms to grow and reach, new audiences and things like that. But yeah, overall, if you're thinking of releasing a single, my personal advice is to build relationships in the industry, because when you build relationships in the industry, they're the ones that are going to support you the most. You can email independent radio stations, blogs, labels, you can email a whole bunch of people, but that doesn't mean that they're going to get back to you, mostly because they don't know you and they're just receiving so much music every single day. So my advice would be to build relationships in the industry so that when you get to releasing a single or music, they know you, they're going to support you, especially if they're industry professionals, people from Spotify, people from, your radio stations in your area, people just in general from the music industry. Build relationships with them and get to know them and have them get to know you, because I personally find emailing a bunch of independent radio stations or radio presenters who don't know you, music blogs who don't know you, people who don't really know you, it is pointless. I feel it really does come down to building relationships. The more and more I do this, it's not about how much work or effort you put into it. It's about who knows you and who's going to support you, that, is from the music industry itself, people who are working in the industry, who you have had communication with, you've, been keeping in touch with. So they're the ones that are so far showing me that they'll support me. Anything else that I did on this release was really pointless. You know, it didn't have much results at all. And well, actually, it had no results at all, apart from one. The only people who got back to me out of all the like organizations I emailed to collab with on the release was Peter Australia. So yeah, I would say my biggest advice is you've got to build relationships in the industry. People just won't support who they don't know. They're just, if they don't know you, they don't care really. That is what I'm discovering. So you've got to also be consistent with your releases as well and just put it out, keep putting it out. Another thing that I'm, very big on is that when you're engaging your passions, it's not so much about who's going to hear it or who's going to listen to it. Of course, as artists, we want our art to be out into the world. We do want to have people listen to it and watch it. However, when that want becomes a demand, that is when we get out of harmony with love. So it's important to always check your emotions and your feelings and make sure that you're addressing any expectations and demands that are coming up with your releases. And that's exactly what I've had to do throughout this whole release, is continually work on my emotions, work on where I'm triggered, where feelings come up about disappointments, sadness, anger, and all those, expectations and demands is something that I've had to work on as well, which again, I'm going to make another video on just the emotional journey that I've had on this release. But I just want to mention that when you're working on your passions and you're putting out art into the world, the emotional journey is just as important as your physical output. So you've got to be working on those two things side by side. You can't just work on the physical output and not work on any of your emotions at the same time. If you're forgetting that one and you're doing that one, you're missing the point of engaging your passions and doing your art. So the reason why we do art is so that we can continue to heal ourselves and expose what's unhealed within us. And that's what would also be my advice to anyone thinking of releasing music, is to go on the emotional journey of it as well and recognize when emotions get triggered and discover what is underneath that emotion and where it comes from, so that you can heal parts of your soul in relation to your passions and your growth in your passions and the goals that you want to achieve. Because without that emotional work, you can do all the physical output. You can be the little mouse on the wheel. But without that emotional work that you do alongside that, this will often amount to nothing. So I'll share more of my emotional journey and what came up for me throughout the process. But for now, I just want to share some of the successes for this release, along with some of the things that didn't work. And I hope that this helps you out in your own journey, helps you out in your own music releases, and hopefully you can learn something from it. All right, well, that's pretty much it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. That is the recap of Ocean Friends. And if you haven't yet checked out the song, don't forget to go and listen to it, stream the video. All links are in the description. Thank you so much for joining me, and I shall talk to you soon.